How do artists get paid? Well, here's a hint. It's not with exposure. So let's talk about this and break down kind of how it works, how you get paid, and things you should know about it. And here's one more thing to think about. Despite what bosses and like overall power structures like us to believe, it's okay to talk about money. And in fact, the more we talk about money and destigmatize this idea, the better off we're all going to be. Here's the thing, glasses stay on. I've got pages of notes on this, and there's a bunch of different ways we're going to talk about this and kind of chop it up. So follow along, take notes, use the rewind button, do whatever you've got to do. So we're going to start off with the first set of selling things out of your studio. That means you're the primary salesperson on this. You are in fact the de facto gallery. But we're just going to call ourselves the artist on this as we talk about gallery sales in the second half. So the first thing you want to sell about, and probably the most profitable way to sell your work, is to sell it directly from your studio. I know people hate hearing that. I just recently saw a video by Christopher West, who I think does a really good channel. He's a dealer, talking about how dealers basically kind of protect artists from bad sellers. And here's the thing. If you're an artist who is currently selling with, let's say, one of the top 100 galleries in the world, this video is not for you. But if you're a working artist, day-to-day artist, art sales, no work is really larger than $20,000, nothing cheaper than $5,000, this is for you. And if you sell for less than that, this is for you as well. So let's kind of understand what we're talking about. If you sell a piece of art out of your studio, someone walks in, someone hears about you, whatever, I really like this piece, how much does it cost? The cost is $7,000 or whatever it might be, plus the sales tax, etc. They give you a check, you deposit the check, you deliver the art, the whole 9 yards, nice and clean and crisp. That's how kind of, in our perfect world, how everything gets sold, but it's really not the case. That happens far rarer than you think. Sometimes you work with a designer, sometimes you work with an art consultant, and they're a little bit different. Usually designers are a 20% commission to the designer. Very often, not all the time, but very often, they're going to mark up above your retail price. Don't get insulted by that. It's just kind of the way it is. They're trying to make a living just like you are. The fact is you probably wouldn't have that sale if the designer didn't like your artwork. So it's great. You're still getting 80% of the sale price. That's a good take. That doesn't seem too bad to me. Art consultants kind of act like galleries. They're going to want 50%. It's really not a question to them. Nice thing again about art consultants, they have multiple people they sell to. It's kind of like working with a gallery because they can make repeat sales for you. So that 50% actually has some real validity behind it. That's fine. That's where we go. So that's the first thing. The other thing, if you sell a commission, someone comes to you, even a designer comes to you, they want to commission you, you get on the price, whatever. You never discount a commission. It's always your retail price no matter what. And we'll talk about discounts down the road in a few minutes, but let's just understand that anytime you do a commission for anybody, for anything, it's never done at a discount, period. Okay, so someone comes and they ask you a discount. You should ask anywhere for 25 to 50% down payment on that commission. And if you don't, shame on you. It's just really bad business not to. What if you suddenly have things going on, someone comes to you with commission, the money's really good, you get 2/3 of the way done with it, and then they bail and you never hear from them. You're stuck with this piece of work that you kind of made for someone else. It's probably in your style, and it's probably something you kind of like, but it's also something you might not have made. Always get a down payment on a commission up front. Always get that commission down payment before you lift a finger to make that work. It's a simple thing. And frankly, people who do commissions expect it. So you're not hurting anyone's feelings with that. Sometimes if you're working with a designer, they're going to buy multiple pieces from you, or even an art consultant. They're going to buy multiple pieces from you, and they may ask for a discount. They're buying 2, 3, 5 pieces, whatever. A discount's a reasonable thing to ask for. That's fine. Most galleries will offer a 10% discount right off the bat on something like that. You should feel comfortable with that as well. And this is especially good for you even if you're working with a designer who's taking 20 and you give a 10% discount, you're still getting 70% of what's left. And that's still a really good kind of return on your investment, especially selling multiple pieces of art. Okay, what are the unknowns here? In almost all of these cases, someone buys from you directly, you get the money right away. There's no waiting. Selling with a designer or a consultant, you may have to wait up to 30 days. There are people who pay immediately or within a couple of days. They're great people. I work with a ton of those folks, and they're lovely to work with. I also work with people who pay on about net 30. They're fine too. The downside we do find is that sometimes people think that net 30 is net 60, and you can't let this kind of thing drag out. And if you've got someone who's buying work from you, but they're letting it drag out on paying you back, because artists are always kind of the last people that get paid, that's a red flag. And I would start raising prices with them. I would also make work available to them a little bit tighter. It's a crappy thing to say, but if someone's slow to pay, you might need to be slow to deliver. Working with galleries. Okay, working with galleries is a different beast because galleries have, in theory, a much larger base of clients that are interested in your work, that will become interested in your work. Galleries traditionally take 50%. I know that like if you're in the upper echelon blue chip, they take less than 50%. Although I'm sure they're fighting for every penny they can. At the kind of level we're talking about, artworks that are $20,000, $25,000 and below, probably even higher, galleries are going to take 50%. Okay. So we're talking about artworks in certain cases that are basically like used cars to new cars that people put on the wall for enjoyment. That means these people are fairly financially savvy. They're going to go for discounts whenever they can. It's a rare person who makes a payment for $20,000 or something, goes, oh no, full price is good for me, I don't want a discount. They're going to ask for a discount. And the reason your artwork is ascended in price is because people have really cared for it. And so there's a little bit of friction there. Artists hate giving up too much of a discount, but at the same time, a little bit of discount sometimes is what makes things happen. Every gallery I work with automatically will, without even asking me, will be able to discount 10% on what they sell. If that's something you cannot absolutely abide by, you need to tell your gallery this. At the same time, by doing this, you hamstring your gallery because you give them like fewer options to work with. And at the end of the day, once they found someone and they found someone for the work, the last hurdle is money. And if you pull their legs out on for that last hurdle, they may not get over the line. And getting over the line and getting paid is really what at the end of the day, what this all kind of becomes about on the business side. On the studio side, it's about making great work and work we really love. But, you know, there's two sides of all this. Where does this go? You're selling with a gallery. I have a gallery who I love dearly, and every time they sell something, they literally wire me money within 3 or 4 days. I love those galleries. I have 2 of them that do that, and they're fabulous. They're also not like everyone else, so understand that. Most galleries are going to pay in 30 days. And usually what that means is anywhere from like 25 to 35, 40 days. If, again, like I say, if galleries are paying net 60, that's something to be a little bit worried about, something to be cautious about with that gallery. It could just mean that they're slow to pay. It could mean they're having financial problems. It could mean that they don't value you as much as it might value other artists. Who knows what it means? It could mean nothing. It could mean everything. But keep an eye on that, because galleries who are slow to pay also will very often act like this is no big deal. We're just slow to pay. What's the big deal? That's not a great attitude from anybody. At the same time, as an artist, you know how hard it is to perform at this level. So you don't want to go pissing everybody off, but you do have to look out for yourself. So it's a little bit of a balancing line there. And remember, of course, almost all galleries will do 10% one way or the other. Now, here's the thing. We really believe, and a lot of folks understand, that if the gallery is giving 10% off, that the split should go 50% artist, 40% gallery, 10% out to the Netherlands, back to the buyer. In reality, what tends to happen, and not with every gallery, but with a lot of galleries, is it goes 45 and 45%, artist and gallery split the discount, and then the 10% goes to the buyer. I used to really get kind of hung up on this. I do so less and less now. It's only 5%, but it's also 5% of a client you probably would never see, you wouldn't know, you'd never be able to make the sale. You know, your gallery works hard for you as well. So it's a funny one. Am I thrilled by it? No. But do I think it works? I think it works okay. So that's a standard, like someone buys one piece of art and they make that sale and they go for it. Selling commissions via your gallery is just like selling a commission on your own, with one exception. You'll deliver it before you get final payment because the gallery is getting final payment for you. You still want a down payment before you get started. Don't lift a finger till the down payment starts, and it works this way. There's one other kind of working situation that kind of happens with this. Usually what happens is the gallery will maybe act as a go-between between you and the buyer. Sometimes the buyer will talk to you directly. That's rare. Galleries are notoriously reticent to let artists talk to their buyers individually. So the buyer may say something to you, but it's being passed through the gallery, and the gallery then puts their own spin on it. That can be disastrous if it's not handled right. The gallery has to be really, really clear and really exact about what they tell you, because you don't really want them putting a little bit of a spin on it and taking you down the wrong way. It's just something to be careful about. Nothing that anyone's doing nefariously against you or anything like that. You just need to have really clear communications with a client in this kind of a situation. And I'll admit, sometimes galleries want to get in the middle of it. They want to feel like they're involved and they want to feel like they're the ones making it happen. I get that, but they're making all the financial stuff happen, and usually that's enough. But in this case, you've got to be careful. Ask them to copy and paste whatever they wrote to them in an email. If there's a phone call, can the three of you get together and talk about it? That's a really great way to go with that. And it's a good way to kind of keep communication lines clear and distinct, and everyone kind of feels like they're doing their part. So just be careful of that with commissions going through a third party, because it can be a little bit tricky. Galleries, a lot of galleries work with designers and they work with art consultants. And this sets up an even worse scenario, because a gallery who's working with a designer, of course, has to give that designer 20%, and then they want to do that 50-50 split we talked about that I was never really a big fan of in the first place. And this is where you have to be willing to talk about money with your gallery. If you're just kind of being kind of dumb and stupid and happy they send you checks, then you're going to be fine forever. But let's say you're selling a $2,000 piece of artwork, and the designer gets 20%. 20% of $2,000 is $4,000, correct? Yeah, that's correct. That means there's now $1,600 left to play with. That leaves you $8 if you're doing that 50-50 split on what's left over. Isn't that odd? You're selling a piece for 10, but you're only getting 8. You're no longer getting 50% of your work. And truthfully, the buyers and sellers are getting, what, 60-70%? Doesn't really work out on the numbers. You have to be able to talk to people up and down the food chain on this. Now this can get even more kind of hard to work with when you've got the gallery needing their cut, the designer needing a cut, and they're buying multiple pieces, so they want a bigger discount. You know, this is where everyone gets a little bit unhappy towards the beginning of this process, but you've got to talk out the money part. You can't be afraid to talk out the money part. And then you've got to be able to go forward with the deal or not go forward with the deal. And that's going to really depend on you and how you let it work. Do I think that you should have your pride in front of you every time you do something like this? Probably not, but you've got to have your business hat on. And, you know, there's a couple ways of looking at this, is that no matter what, my work is worth this and I should get this no matter what. I believe in that, and I also kind of don't believe in that. I also believe in the fact that every time I sell a piece of art, it's a little bit of a win, because I now have one less piece of art, but I get the money for it, which is great because it pays my rent and stuff like that. But at the same time, you have to protect your work. You have to protect the value of your work, so other people will want to pay the right price for the work. Listen to your gut. Talk to your gallerist about it. They're used to this as well, and they have the same concern. They don't want to be known as people who are giving up discounts all over town. It's not good for them either as a business. So a lot of communication goes a long, long way on this. Don't be afraid to talk about money. If there's anything anything that I talk about in today's conversation, it's don't be afraid to talk about money with people. It's not personal. Don't act like it's personal. It's business. And if your business is being an artist and your business is having your art sell so you can pay your rent or your mortgage or whatever it is that you have, then you need to be willing to talk about it, and you need to be able to understand where the hard points are and where the soft points that come. And really, I think a number of folks get away with feeling they can bully the artist around a little bit. And in doing so, they can bully the artist and kind of get you to back down. You don't have to back down, at least not all the way. There's ways to make this work, and there's ways to find common middle grounds. I think you'll be fine with it. But trust your instincts a little bit. This is really the basics of working with and making money from selling your art. Here's what I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about doing a painting and selling glycate prints or digital prints or whatever. I've seen people online on YouTube talk about, like, don't sell your real art, just sell prints of it. That's fine. You can do whatever you want, and it's not up to me to tell you that. But in my world, my client's looking to buy the real thing. And they want to see this unique handmade thing that's made by the artist with like a high degree of care and precision. And they're not really looking for a computer print. If that's what you want to do, that's great. God bless you. Yeah, I'm all for that. But for the real world of people who really buy art, they're looking for that real thing. And I think that's something to be careful about. Putting your art on scarves, phone cases, t-shirts, tote bags, whatever, unless it's being done by like someone like J. Crew or someone amazing, I would advise against it. And I know there's kind of a small subsection in the world of artists that do these kind of merchandise things. I just don't really think you're helping yourself any, especially for what I think is probably a very small return at the end of the day. Anyhow, that's it. That's how you get paid as an artist, and that's the main swaths of it. Yeah, there's ways to get paid through residency programs and grants and stuff like that. That's a conversation for another day. But this is when you sell your work, this is how you get paid. These are the ways you get paid. These are the ways you get discounted on a little bit. Feel free to reach out. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this as well. If you comment on this in the comment section, you don't have to name names, but talk about what really has happened, not what you wish happens. It's a different thing. What really happens is what we really care about, because everyone can kind of draw from people's real experiences, not from made-up experiences. And I think that's a great way to go. Anyhow, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again. I appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you can. I wish you all the best. I'll talk to you soon.